Hi, everybody. I want to outline an interview I'm going to be doing with Mel Clark on the Never Settle podcast, which is coming up later today. I'm not sure whether she's publishing it live or whether it's going to be released in a few days' time. I'll find that out later. I've got to know Mel quite well in the last few months, and she's asked me, as has many of our members, why do I do what I do? What's the reason? What's the motivation behind the Republic of Old Souls? Why do I put so much time and effort into what I'm building here at the Republic of Old Souls? A couple of years ago, we did a Freedom Conference in Epsom in London, and it was filled to the brim. There were people waiting outside who wanted to come in and experience the speakers and the theme of the day, which is all about freedom. So I want to explain very briefly. I'll obviously be going into it in more detail on the interview with Mel Clark later today. But if you were to walk my journey, then you'll probably understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. If you go back 16 years, go back 25 years, so between 25 years and 16 years ago, I built one of the UK's largest financial services organisations. It was the third largest of its type. And I became a very wealthy individual with a very luxurious lifestyle and a very free lifestyle. And then suddenly, when I blew the whistle on HBOS and the top six banks, and then went head to head with the Financial Conduct Authority, which back in those days was called the Financial Services Authority, and then I tried to take on the Bank of England and the Treasury, and I tried to take on the Financial Services Authority back in those days in the High Courts. And of course, that then set off a whole series of dominoes, which is all reported on and covered in my documentaries. So the one that if you're interested in the backstory, is The Disruptor, which is probably the best explanation of my last 16 years. Now, if you're not interested in that, then you might be interested in, why do I spend so long? Why, literally 7 days a week, I work on these projects that I'm developing for the benefit of mankind. And I want to explain to you what motivates me, because a lot of people don't really get this. They don't understand this at all. They see a guy who's being heavily criticized by Dan Needle, by Simon Goldberg, by the FCA, by others, by Open Democracy. A lot of people see that criticism and want to believe that somehow I am sitting here behind my computer screen, working away on all the things that I do because I'm trying to make money from defrauding people. Well, I can assure everybody who's watching this that is couldn't be further from the truth and reality of it. I was once one of the richest guys in the UK. I'm pretty good at solving problems. If I want to make money, then I can recoup abandoned credit, which has already been proven to have worked at the Clifford Protocol. I can also trade the markets. I've built hundreds of algorithmic trading systems in my last 15, 20 years. And these systems work and they make perpetual profits. So why on earth would I need to spend 7 days a week trying to defraud people who are seeking a remedy to their problem? It makes no sense whatsoever. And this is what I'm going to be talking to Mel Clark about on the interview. What motivates me is freedom. Having had my freedoms curtailed by the establishment over the last 16 years, I know what it's like to have your freedoms curtailed. I've just written a document which is up on our Telegram channels, and this is the subject of the interview. Are we sleepwalking in? Is humanity sleepwalking into the biggest threat to freedom that we've ever experienced through all of evolution? I say we probably are. If you look at this document, and I'll be covering it in more detail in the interview with Mel Clark later on, what you're going to read about is three things. You're going to read about UN Agenda 2030 and what's really going on with that. You're also going to read about transhumanism and what's really going on with that. And then you're going to read about how everything is going to be joined together. It's kind of almost there already. And how they're taking us into this new world with AI. how they're taking into this new transhuman world of control, how the world in the next 10 years is going to be so different from the last 10 years or the last 20 or 30 years. If you go back to when I first started in the workplace when I was 19, the world was so different back then to what it is like now. If we wind the clock forward 10 years, what's it really going to be like? Now, millions of people around the world are very concerned about where we're heading with this control agenda, the UN Agenda 2030, transhumanism, and many other threats to our freedoms. I see these things very, very clearly. Remember, I have the INTJ brain type. I'm able to join the dots up. I'm able to see the map. I'm able to see what's really going on, put all the pieces of the jigsaw into the puzzle and make a picture. I can see which way things are going. And in my opinion, the only way out of the problem of the control agenda enveloping us on every single level is to create our own community, is to create our own freedom community. And that is what I am working on. I call it the Freedom Plan. It encompasses free energy from the atmosphere, water from the atmosphere. It encompasses farm to table food from the farmers, obviously. It encompasses health, natural health remedies, in particular the plasma genius of Tesla, how you can use that. It also encompasses non-track and trace communications, travel, and our own currency. And in my estimations and in my forecasts and in my calculations, I think that we could build a community of between 500,000 to 1 million worldwide that are operating within the Republic of Old Souls with independent infrastructure where we do not need the cabal. We don't have to worry about their control agenda whatsoever. We have our own ecosystem. We have our own resources, our own infrastructure. It's called the Freedom Plan. I've been working on it for a long time. If you want to discover how is it going to be brought about, how is it going to be financed, what's it really all about, then please join the webinar. Sorry, the interview. I'll also be doing a webinar on this, but join the interview I'll be doing with Mel Clark on the Never Settle podcast. Thanks for watching.